Hotel Cecil, located in downtown Los Angeles, was built in 1924 by W.B. Hanna and opened in December. The hotel became a popular hostel with 700 rooms, catering to a mix of visiting middle-class tourists and Angelinos who called the building home. However, the transient nature of the hotel's population and the huge influx of new arrivals meant that not every guest was on the up and up. In 1927, John Croneur, a suave and mild-mannered Slavonian, was arrested in his room for running from police at the Hayward Hotel and stealing a diamond hairpin at the Roslyn Hotel. In April 1929, a 33-year-old woman from San Francisco named Dorothy Robertson was taken to the hospital after wandering around the hotel for 3 days. According to reports, she was distraught over the sudden death of her husband and had tried to poison herself with prescribed barbiturates. With the stock market crash later that year, a depression settled over the Cecil that would never leave. The surrounding neighborhood slowly fell into disarray, and the Cecil increasingly became a hostel for the shady and the sick. There was the tale of Cecil resident George Ford, a successful morphine and opium dealer with a stash of $10,000 worth of opium, who was arrested in a sting at the nearby Astor Hotel. An elderly man was picked up at the Cecil, in peril of death, after drinking poisoned liquor that had killed 3 other men. The mayhem continued with an elderly Cecil resident trying to shoot himself in Westlake Park. An elderly woman tenant was found drowned in the ocean, a teenage stick-up bandit was arrested at the Cecil, and a woman named Dorothy January claimed that a man had answered her adverts seeking a childcare position, only to choke her and steal $40 from her purse. Throughout the 1930s, the Cecil catered to a mixed clientele, not all of the tragic variety. A visiting Hungarian couple, Jacob Horner, an elderly former cavalryman with General Custer, spent half a year renting a room at the Cecil, where he gave an interview bemoaning the current state of the world. The Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles has been a haunting place for many years, with numerous suicides and murders. In 1937, Grace E. Magro died in Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and the hotel was a frequent site for prostitutes and cheating couples. In 1940, the first regular Los Angeles AA meetings began to be held at the Cecil Hotel. A cafe manager, Elizabeth Short, was allegedly seen at the Cecil bar shortly before her murder. The area around the Cecil continued to decline into a last resort for lost, desperate people like Helen C. Gurney. In 1962, Pauline Otten leapt from the 9th floor window, killing not only her, but also an elderly pensioner on the street below. Julia Frances Moore, 50, leapt from the 8th floor, landing on the 2nd floor rail. Long-term residents began to refer to the building as the Suicide. In 1964, Goldie Osgood, a retired telephone operator who frequently fed pigeons in nearby Pershing Square, was raped, stabbed, and strangled in her room at the Cecil. Her body was found next to the Dodger baseball cap she always wore and a paper bag of feed. One of her friends, a retired nurse named Jean, talked to a reporter in Pershing Square while watering a bouquet of fast-wilting flowers. By the 1970s and 80s, Skid Row was plagued by increasing violence and a huge influx of illegal drugs. Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker, terrorized Los Angeles in the mid-1980s. He allegedly lived at the Cecil, where rooms were as cheap as $14 a night. In 1988, a man accused of killing his girlfriend in Huntington Beach was arrested at the Cecil. The globe-trotting Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger supposedly stayed at the Cecil in the early 90s. In 1995, A murder suspect named Eric Reed was found at the hotel after breaking out of a jail in Castaic. By the mid-2000s, parts of downtown LA were becoming increasingly gentrified. In 2007, a group led by Fred Cordova bought the Cecil for $26 million and began to transform part of the hotel into the Stay, a budget boutique hotel for hip, middle-class tourists. Many of the poor long-term residents were pushed out. In 2013, the Cecil made worldwide news when complaints of low water pressures led to the discovery of Canadian tourist Elisa Lam, 21, in the hotel's rooftop water tank. The mystery of what happened to Lam only deepened when a video of her in the hotel elevator was released. Efforts have been made to turn 384 rooms at the Cecil into housing for the homeless, but business leaders in up-and-coming areas around the hotel are against the plan.